What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show. And today I'm going to talk about something that's very important. And I need to talk about this because I have to get all of you on the same page. And I have to calm a lot of you down. Free agency is coming next week. And I know the excitement of the possibility of who Washington can sign, who Washington can get, and possible trades and things like that. And I need for everyone to hear me. All the YouTubers, all the fans, all the sports reporters, all the reporters, all the commentators, the sports commentators and everything. I need all of y'all to hear me and hear me loudly. Don't become fan Snyders. Okay? Don't become fan Snyders. Stop being fan Snyders. Understand that we went through a situation like this before. And we have to do everything we can to make sure that our past doesn't repeat itself. And part of making sure our past doesn't repeat itself is by making sure we don't invest too much money or too many draft picks into things that don't work out for us. Understand, even though people remember the 2000 season, I don't think how many people remember all the players that were supposed to be upgrades that year. If y'all remember, in that 2000 season, remember, it was Kennard Lane. Bruce Smith was an upgrade over Kennard Lane. And he was an upgrade over Kennard Lane. That year, Bruce Smith had 10 sacks, whereas Kennard Lane had only 6. Remember, Mark Courier was an upgrade over, I think it was either Darryl Pounds or Lamont Evans. Mark Courier was an upgrade over him. Then when you think about guys like Deion Sanders at the time was technically an upgrade over Darrell Green, who was pushed to the slot corner position. I mean, there were guys that were upgrades. Remember, James Thrash took over not only the kick and punt returning of the team, but he also became a starter at the other receiver position when we lost Michael Westbrook. Remember, Jeff George was supposed to be not only an upgrade from Brad Johnson, but also as the backup, an upgrade over Rodney Peete. How many of y'all remember Rodney Peete being here? That 2000 season, that 99 season, Washington did very well. It didn't get as far as our current team got, but it got very far. And then we came back the following year, and ended up finding out that chemistry actually meant something. Remember, we went from Mike Nolan's defense to Ray Rhodes' defense. Everybody forgets that. Mike Nolan was fired. Mike Nolan was fired by Fan Snyder. And he brought in Ray Rhodes. That was an upgrade, remember? That was an upgrade. So y'all have to understand something. When y'all talk all these names, DK Metcalf, Devontae Adams, Zach Bond, this guy, that guy, Milton Williams. Y'all, at some point, you can't sign every big name free agent there is. Sometimes you have to let some guys stay on that free agent pile. And only target guys that actually fit your scheme and your system. I'm the type of person, I don't want Devontae Adams here. You know why? Because Devontae Adams was a nutcase. He's a head case. He's a locker room cancer. And people can say whatever they want to say about him, but I saw the Receiver documentary, and I saw at how awful of a person he was on that Raiders sideline. He could have been a motivating factor for that team, yet and still he felt the need to take the negative route. Then he goes to the Jets and somehow creates a wedge and an issue between Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, who Aaron Rodgers wasn't getting really good at dealing with in the first place. I mean, is that really what everybody wants? A guy who's going to come in and just be a problem? No, nobody wants that. And everybody has to understand that it's not about every free agent. Some guys are passed on because that's just what it is. In the modern, in the history of most Super Bowls, right? We've never really seen a buttload of teams win a Super Bowl after having a massive free agent spending spree. We've never seen it. Most of the teams that actually win, they end up drafting most of their players. And we can go back to 1999. When you think about the LA Rams, that was pretty much, they pretty much drafted a majority of that team. You think about the New England Patriots, they were all draft picks. They weren't free agents. That was all, I think that was one of the most drafted teams. You think about the Baltimore Ravens, they drafted everybody. I mean, you talking about they'll bring in a free agent here, a free agent there, but everybody that was there was pretty much guys that they drafted. The Kansas City Chiefs, that's a drafted team. The Philadelphia Eagles, a drafted team. The Seattle Seahawks, a drafted team. All these teams are the teams that they drafted a majority of the guys that were on their team. Even when you think about the LA Rams, who were the Rams, the LA Rams, which with the Matt Stafford, I mean, they didn't have a lot of free agents on that team either. And sometimes you have to understand that building the actual team is more important than sitting up there and getting every free agent possible. I mean, trades, I get trades. I understand trades. But sometimes you got to sit up here and say, is the guy worth trading for? DK Metcalf, I can understand why everybody's enamored by him. But why go with him when you can go with a Tyler Lockett? But is Tyler Lockett really going to come here for a little bit of money? Because, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like Washington doesn't have the money to really spend on free agency, but we don't want to burn through all our cash. You just don't want to do that. And you got to analyze it from that perspective. You know, is it really worth it? Especially when you got to bring back a guy like Terry McLaurin. And then there's ways that you spend your money that's more important. Like if y'all really think about it, last year was a very, very, very good spending season for the Commanders. Very good. Why? Because they didn't blow all their money. They just spent here, spent there. And not only that, you do want that opportunity that if a guy gets released or you got to make a trade at the trade deadline that puts you over the top, then at least you got the money available for that. I mean, I understand that most of y'all didn't like the Marshawn Lynch trade after you done seen him play games, but imagine if we didn't have the money to be able to pay him when we traded for him. And that applies to everything. I mean, we've seen a lot of free agents. We saw two guys get tagged. We just saw the Kansas City Chiefs trade Joe Thuney away. And knowing they need offensive line help. But guess what? This is the draft for them to grab an offensive lineman. Probably two. So again, like I said, don't be fan Snyders. Don't be fan Snyders. Don't try to be fan Snyders. Don't want to be fan Snyders. Don't be fan Snyders. Because at the end of the day, if you burn through all your cash in free agency, there's nothing you can do later on down the line. And then you definitely don't want to be sitting here trading away all your draft picks, because you're going to need that stuff in the future. The reason I was against the Myles Garrett trade, not because I don't think Myles Garrett is a phenomenal football player. I think he's an incredible football player. But not for 2 first-round picks. Or maybe 2 first-round picks and next year's second-round pick and a third-round. No, that's too much stuff to give up for a guy. Because we're not just one edge guy away from winning it all. This receiver class is probably one of the lowest classes there is, where everybody's making deals, trading guys. And I mean, you see Tyler Lockett so Tyler Lockett is gone, and I'm pretty sure the Seattle Seahawks would rather get a trade for DK Metcalf so they can either be back in the first round or at least close to the first round. You know? And you have to understand that that's something that everybody has to pay attention to. You know, you can't spend all your money. You can't burn through your draft picks. Because again, Fan Snyder did all that. Do you know that from the time of 2000 all the way up to 2010, we have burned through multiple draft picks, tons and tons of draft picks, and didn't even sit up there and really bank in on a lot of them? Because when you think about it, you're talking about after the 2000 season, we had the second the second overall pick and the third overall pick. We burned through so many draft picks, so many, and ended up on the bad end of each one. Then 2010 rolls around and we finally go and draft Trent Williams. And we were lucky because Chris Samuels just happened to make it all the way to 2009. So y'all, don't be Fan Snyders. Don't want all these free agents, because it's not the smart thing to do. It's not the smart thing to focus on. You don't need every free agent there is. You don't need every big name there is. Because guess what? At the end of the day, that 2000 team had a lot of free agents that were upgrades. And guess what? It didn't work out. And it didn't work out because the team chemistry wasn't there. No, the team wasn't on the same page. They thought they had upgraded at receiver. They messed up at offensive line. So think about that, y'all. When y'all want to sit up there and y'all want all these free agent names, remember that 2000 team. Remember that 2000 team. There was a lot of players on there that were free agents, big name free agents, that were actually upgrades over the guys that we brought in. And it failed. We went from 10-6 the year before, a game out of the NFC Championship, to 8-8 and out of the playoffs. And even with that, remember, we still had an opportunity to make the playoffs, but then Fan Snyder fired North Turner at the time. Y'all tell me what y'all think. How do y'all feel? Do y'all feel that we should go out there and go on a big spending spree and get as many free agents as possible? Or do you feel like me, we should sit up there and spend money here, spend money there, but actually build more through the draft? Y'all tell me what y'all think. Other than that, this has been your man, John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.